another beautiful Friday. You know how we do it on PM Personality Profile. My guest tonight, he's a seasoned hospital leadership and management expert with 30 years experience in public and private sectors. Dr. Darius Osei, currently CEO of the University of Ghana Medical Center. Good to see you, Doc. It's been a while.
Good to see you, Aisha. Yeah.
How have you been?
I'm okay. Thank you.
What have you been up to?
Not much. Working.
Well, the last 1.5 years has been very difficult for us. At least COVID-19 came in to teach us a lesson of our lives. The economy is now suffering all because of COVID-19. It must have been tough for you and your team here.
Very tough. I'll call it challenges, but the vision was very clear. And gradually, I think I have a very good team who understood what is going on and the clarity of what we want to do. So we faced the challenges, and I think I can say confidently that we are okay.
Our situation looks better in a way, but what does that mean? Are we done with COVID?
COVID is still there, but I think for some reason, from the clinical outcome, we can say we are doing better, because last year or two, around this time, we're getting very sick people, and mortality was also quite high. But we still are diagnosing COVID patients, and they get well and go home. And so I can see maybe the malignancy of the condition is far better now.
So we can just go about our normal lives.
Well, we have learned to live with COVID. And COVID in the beginning was making us helpless. But now I think gradually we've warmed ourselves into our normalcy. And so we still have to be very careful with the rules, social distancing, hygienic conditions, and then also try to immunize if you've not had the vaccine. I mean, if you look at the percentage of people who have accepted to have the vaccine, I'm sure it has brought some level of immunity in the system. So the situation is better.
Okay. I see you to be very passionate about your job. I mean, your work at the Trust Hospital, the Cape Coast Hospital, even you wanting to work at the TBA Hospital when no one wanted to be posted over there. I see a dream come true. At what point did you have the passion to save lives?
I dreamt about doing medicine when I entered St. Peter's Secondary School by accident, anyway. Because the school used to have a zoo, and I was bitten by a baboon.
Oh, wow.
That was 1974.
Oh.
The school baboon.
Sorry
and
about
I was
that.
sent to a TBA hospital at that time. And the hospital then was being managed by the SDA, that is the Americans. The way the doctor handled me and managed me for the first time. And I said to myself that, well, I don't know what will happen, but if I should become a doctor, maybe I would like to come to a TBA and work. And it kept on in my mind. So immediately I finished my house job, I walked to the ministries and asked to go to a TBA.
Okay.
And I was posted there, and I stayed there for 10 years.
Wow.
Right.
Share those experiences with me.
Well, 10 years was a good time, you know, as a young doctor who wanted to learn. The first thing is to improve your clinical skills. And I became the medical superintendent somewhere along the line. And I did some work, and that work actually pushed me to do my management in hospital leadership.
Okay.
And it was about a TBA having high mortality in terms of maternal deaths. And it has always been the case that maybe the clinical works are not going on well. But it was all about work process. The doctors were living in bungalows where they had big dogs, and the whole place leading to the doctors' bungalows didn't have lights. And so nurses didn't have any way to get to these doctors appropriate times. So they would wait till the morning when the sun starts setting up before they could get to the doctors.
Okay.
So what I did was to appeal to Valco, who gave us an ambulance, and we could get a night driver. We also did the street lights right from the hospital to the last doctor's bungalow, and just got some intercom, and maternal mortality reduced.
Okay.
You know, so at a certain point, I think TBA became the center of excellence at all hospitals in Ghana, including Kwalebu, Komfanoche, Trust Hospital. All of them came for a steady tour.
Thanks to you.
So I got the scholarship to UK to do my master's in hospital management.
Okay.
Came back and I was posted to Cape Coast. Tibetan was then new.
Okay.
And just like I found myself in UGMC, a few doctors, not too many experienced doctors. And gradually I was able to get accreditation for that facility to do our house job.
Okay.
And I see most of the consultants I'm working now did their house jobs under me in Cape Coast.
Okay.
That was between 2002 to 2006. 2006, I applied for a job which I saw in the papers. Were shortlisted 19 of us, and then I got the job to become the general manager of SNET Medicals.
Okay.
I worked until I was given a task to hive the hospital up from the mainstream,
Okay.
which had been a liability in the books of SNET. Well, I presented a business plan, which was supported by the board then. And so I established all those clinics. If you can see, we have the trust clinics, Dome, Dansuman, and all over. And then the specialist hospital, which SNET had acquired that building, but there was nothing in there. And then we got the mother in charge. So, you know, we were able to secure 3 major hospitals and 6 clinics who were feeders into the main hospital.
Okay.
We were able to move the staff strength from 270 to about, when I was leaving, it was 680.
Wow.
And when we had taken all the staff away from the books of SNET as a standalone facility, who were managing themselves with the board, management board as an oversight responsibility, paying their salaries, equipping themselves. And I think the rest is history.
But you grew up in Asylum Down.
Yeah,
but I know you schooled in Accra.
Well, my mother was a teacher. And then she was teaching at Manchetaki. There is this school opposite the then Fari School.
Okay.
And so we were living in Asylum Down though, but we used to work every day with my mom because I have 2 other siblings. I don't have a sister. We are all guys. And so that is how come, even though we're living in Asylum Down, we're schooling in Accra. This day and time, I'm sure every family live in a comfortable townhouse, or, I mean, these were days where you find yourself in about 100 people in one house, you know, the tenancy style, you know. So it was real survivor. I mean, everybody had to survive. You know, we have averagely having your chamber and hall, and in every house hold, you have an average of 6 or 7 people
In the
house. So you can imagine that all these houses have average over 100 people living in one house. and a bit of competition among peers until maybe you leave to the secondary school where maybe you like the secondary school environment more than coming home.
Okay.
Right.
But you always also talk about this, your uncle who rescued you from the streets of asylum down. At what point of your life did this happen?
Well, my uncle was a soldier. He had just returned from Congo during the war there. And, you know, as usual, as guys, we go out to play, and then he came and he asked me, we go for a ride. And that was it. And we're going straight to Takrady.
You never came back to asylum now?
No, that was it.
But why?
Well, I think it was a pre-arrangement with my mother, and, you know, a stubborn child who needs to be shaped up. And then the soldier was the person who could do that. Well, so fortunately for me, the wife was a teacher.
Okay, as well.
And so, well, when we go to Takrady, they live in a flat where on the second floor. And the rules that I never stepped down. So I could see guys playing football, and you can imagine you can imagine the transition, you know, where you were a freelance person, and now you are confined to that corridor. You know, watching guys playing out there, your homework is supervised. I mean, the transition was so drastic, but it was good because my academic life improved. And so I sat my common entrance in Form 2, when most people in the public school then were doing it in Form 4.
Okay.
Yeah, so in Form 2, I passed and went to St. Peter's.
Okay.
You know, even on a scholarship. So
Wow.
with this short period, going from Accra to my uncle made a lot of impact.
Okay.
Yeah, and sometimes environment matters.
Environment matters. Let's talk about the asylum done environment and the Manchetaki environment.
Yeah.
How was it like before your uncle decided to take you to
know,
Takrady?
my mother was a single mother, and you know, a single mom controlling guys is always
three boys, strong boys. Yeah. Wow.
And so you cannot fault her. And we're living in an environment where you wake up in the morning, and when they see your face, it means you are hungry. You are coming to eat. You know, and after eating, you go out there, and then the next time you come, you are coming to sleep. So it's not the kind of environment that you are supervised. And even if your mom wanted to supervise you, you didn't allow yourself to be supervised. So the real impact was when I got supervised. And this time not by anybody, but by a soldier. So you can imagine
the military life passed through
and
you.
Of course, it's still a lot of discipline in me, and all my success story. I owe it to that, because the time to wake up, the time to sleep. If everybody has observed me, I come to work at 7. It has been so for the past 20 years or so.
Wow.
Yeah, my time management, my expectations in terms of what I do, everything is very precise. And I think I got that from the training that I got, yes. And I continue staying with him even when I was in secondary school, until I traveled out of the country. You know, so I got a lot of, he became more or less a role model in my life, and it molded me to be what I am today, and I'm grateful.
But on the streets of asylum, that you say you were stubborn, what were the things that you were doing that made you stubborn?
Everything that you can think of as a boy on that street. You know, we lived first in Adabraka, came to Asylum down, and then to Kokomimle. So you can imagine that environment in those years. I'm talking about the 60s.
Okay.
60s, 70s, until the early 80s when I traveled out of Accra, out of the country.
Okay.
You know, so sometimes it is good to go through all the dynamics of lives because you see the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Let's talk about St. Peter's. And you've already told me the story about how you got bitten, and that even affirmed your decision to become a doctor one day. How was life at St. Peter's?
Well, St. Peter's is a great school. I mean, where we had a Catholic father, Pladzo. May his soul rest in peace. And then we had a very powerful class. St. Peter's is a place where if you don't excel in your mathematics, for instance, you cannot become a science student.
Yeah.
And I had already, promised myself that I really wanted to become a doctor. So,
even at that age?
Yeah, because of the experience I've had in Form 1.
Okay.
Yeah, so Form 1, when I had that experience, TB hospital was always on my mind, sort of. And my maths was weak a little bit in Form 1.
Okay.
And so you ask yourself, so how would you pass that ladder of becoming a science student? And so you have to put in some effort. And luckily, I was able to get over it. Because we had a class where when you have even gotten 80%, you are about 35, because we have about 10 people already with 100% in mathematics, physics, and my class was a good class in the 79-year group. I mean, out of about 44 students, 16 distinctions, almost everybody got 1. So everybody enters his form. It was a powerful group.
Wow.
So the motivation is all about, first of all, the school itself is sited in Nkwetia. So if you have come from Accra to Nkwetia, the town is no for you, because there's nothing out there for you. So you need to stay
in school
and then make use of all the things that are in school. So really, we finished St. Peter's, and my uncle had then gone back to Takrady again when I was about to enter 6th form. So I did my 6th form again in St. John's in 2nd D. I finished 6th form 81. We entered 81 September was the reopening of universities. By 31st December, the coup was up. So universities were closed.
Okay, so you were part of the team that stayed home for how many years?
1 year.
1 year.
Yeah. But some of us had to climb the staircase of scholarship secretariat up and down every day. And so we got the scholarship, and then I went
outside the country.
I went to the Ukraine that is being bombed today.
Oh goodness! Yeah. you must be
very
worried.
Yeah, it is
about the situation.
When you go down the memory lane, and then imagine that the hostel you lived in or the streets you were walking on is now being devastated. Then it's worrying. That was 83 to 90 was the period. And then came back in July 1990, right? That was when I came back.
Before we even talk about university life in Ukraine, tell me more about St. Peter's and St. John's. At St. Peter's, what really happened before you were bitten by the babu?
Oh, when the babu is in the cage, and then, every time we close school, you go and then trouble it a little bit. And these people, these babus, their memories are very sharp.
They remember what you did the previous day.
immediately they came out. We were many, but he could spot me.
Goodness.
Yeah, and then,
You've been troubling it all the time.
Man, those days, I mean, did you know what you were doing? It's, yeah, you're always a very ambitious person who never wants to stay put. So definitely, you get yourself into unnecessary troubles.
But what kind of a student were you?
Well, I was an average student. I was not in, if you look at the quality of my class, I never fell below. I was not in the top percentile, but I was there.
Yeah.
I mean, never repeated, never had to fail any paper. You always pass your exams. I mean, you enter sixth form because you have the grades to send you there. So really, we never compromise on anything. If we have to disco, we do it. If we have to do everything that a young man wants to have fun with, but we were also passing our exams, and so we didn't attach a lot of significance to the fact that it was only the success story ahead of us lies in that opportunity that we've had that time. And I'm sure everybody at that time who had the opportunity to enter sixth form and university had a guaranteed job, and so when we're getting close to sixth form, where it was getting closer to defining your professional life, then you know that you have to be very serious, because this is the opportunity either to become an engineer or a doctor. But in the lower levels, you are just around by passing time.
Do you remember some of the escapades that you and your friends were involved in?
Oh, well, there are too many. Let's move on.
I want to know.
I don't remember, apart from sometimes running to town to, there's a dance at Nkoko, and then we have to go through the bush and then participate in the dance. And how do you come back? I mean, sometimes you want to go and eat fufu in town. You have to walk through the bush. Sometimes you have to go to the bush and then, participate in the palm wine of the, these farmers have brewing their palm wine in those pots. And then we go and empty the pots. These are all, I mean, issues of, if you try to look back, they were all part of the adventures.
What would you describe as the biggest challenge whilst there?
I mean, St. Peter's is a school that when you go, the challenge is you should be successful. Because everybody is passing and everybody is making it. So, especially a science student, because if you are selected to read science, it means at least you are above average. So with a little effort, you should be able to make it. It will be very disheartening that at the end of it all, you couldn't get a career. Maybe you fell out along the line and then you gave up on yourself. And so you couldn't carry on to make your any meaningful career. But I think everybody who even didn't pass the first time and then made some efforts the second time should be able to carry on to make a career. And I've got very good classmates who are doing very well all over.
Were there times that you had financial challenges?
Well, I mean, financial challenges will always be there. I mean, but we went through, there were some scholarships along the line to help us with tuitions, and the challenge had been maybe your provisions you sent to school. And for us, For some of it, even if they give us the provision, we sell it at the gate before we enter. So,
And what do you do
I mean, we
to
survive.
survive
We're
it?
seniors, so you know what happens.
You go and bully the juniors and take their food.
I mean,
Wow.
you don't imagine me having provisions to
You sell it at the entrance.
I don't need it. So it was not part of my thinking.
It was the juniors that were suffering.
I mean, sometimes you also have some weak students who want you to teach them some chemistry or some, and you know, you have to give them some conditions.
Condition precedent. Share the experience of schooling in Ukraine with me.
Well, we left Ghana when it was very difficult time to live in. You know, I left Ghana when the Nigerians were coming. You remember?
Mm.
Yeah. Universities were closed. You are very frustrated. That was the time the Nigerians were also coming in '83.
Okay.
And there was no sense of direction in terms of where your future will end.
Okay.
So when we got to Ukraine, well, there was no turning back, because even though we had all the opportunity, most of my mates who got the opportunity to enter the West never came back, because it was easy getting visas to UK, America, and wherever you wanted to go.
Okay.
You know, but I was offered to do medicine.
Mm.
And I didn't see any reason why I should compromise my medical practice or training to anything else. So no matter the situation, I felt that I've been given another opportunity. And so you go there and you have to learn the language for 1 year.
Okay. So you can speak.
After the language, you enter.
Can speak the language?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been how many years? 32, 34 years. But
you can still say, how are you?
Yeah, Kagdila. I know those ones you
and
can
how
say.
do I respond?
Yeah, Harasho.
Harasho.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when we entered, we had a lot of motivation, because really we were tested in this country at that time.
Mm.
And so once you leave the shores, you always remember home, that it was difficult.
Yeah.
And so for some of us who got the opportunity to read medicine, we took it seriously. And at that time in our career, we have redefined ourselves, that we need to now organize ourselves into another future.
Okay.
And so after the language, you move into, they don't have the university like this, they have the medical institute. So that's 600 first-year medical students, you know, together with the Russians who are entering the medical school. So Ghanaians at that time were about 14 of us. And then you move on from first year, second year, third year. You finished in 1990, and I went to UK and worked for some time, and then I started work in November 1990.
In Ghana?
Yes, that is Confanoche, and where I did my house job.
Okay.
Right.
Well, you did when you came back from Ghana, you went to Confanoche Teaching Hospital.
Yeah, that was where I was sent to.
Before you went to Cape Coast Teaching Hospital?
No, Confanoche was my house job.
Hold it there for me. Dr.Darius Osei, he's my guest tonight on PM Personality Profile. Remember, he was posted to a TBA where a lot of people wouldn't have wanted to work there, but he requested to be there, and he worked there for 10 years. He was medical director at the Trust Hospital, Cape Coast Teaching Hospital. He has been in this business for 30 years. When I return from this break, he'll be sharing his career experiences with us. We'll be talking about challenges. We've talked a little about successes, but I know there have been challenges. He'll be telling us all of that, plus his family values and lifestyle. Stay with me. I'm coming right back. Welcome back to PM Personality Profile. My guest still Dr. Darius Osei. Let's talk about your career, which you've been in for the past 30 years. And
maybe with the passion, and I've been lucky. I've never been sick for all the years that I remember.
Oh, wow.
And I wake up every morning and I feel a lot of energy in me.
You're blessed.
You can see I'm a retired man. I'm 62.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So.
But still serving your country.
Yeah. The journey has, the whole idea is working with others and people identifying the expertise, power. And that is learning what you do, respecting people around you and making sure, even if you have a vision to drive, you'll let them legitimize it for you to make it easy.
Okay.
I was lucky. I worked with very experienced doctors. When I went to a TBA, I was very young, and I've met Dr. Kensego, who became the director HR, and at a certain point, he was the medical director for Tamale Teaching Hospital. He was quite experienced doctor. I met Dr. Uasiao. He later became the head of institutional care, Ghana Health Service. These were way ahead of me.
Okay.
And so you have to learn how to fit in. And as a young doctor, you needed to be humble and then make sure that first you learn the trade. That is the clinical skills. And so at a certain point in a TBA, I think I was very skillful. I could do everything, because a TBA was right in the middle of nowhere. And the referrals either is to Konfanoche or Kolibu.
Okay.
And so if you want to add value to your profession, then you have to always think about the element of equity of care and making sure the poor also have access to care. And that is where you learn all these attributes that makes you a better person, because you'll be working in the middle of the night. And then when you go and then you have finished one operation, you are called again. And the number of times they call you, I don't think I ever gave up on any. So it got to a time that even when I was not on duty and there are difficult cases, they would prefer to call me and they will know I will not hesitate. And my wife is also a doctor. So she was then bearing children. So I was doing her duties. When the weekends, when she has to cover, I have to cover for her.
Okay.
So virtually, a lot of cases that came my way made me much more experienced. I built my confidence there. And this is the reason maybe why I'm sitting where I am today, because I was confident as a doctor. I went to Cape Coast. There were doctor strike. There were cases on the ward that needed to be operated. If the doctors were, I went and then I did all.
Okay.
Came to trust. Similar incidents happened, and I went to the theater and did all. So that expertise power, that you are not only enjoying the office life as a director, but when it comes to the clinical expertise, you have also built yourself. And I think I owe it to the 10 years that I stayed at TB because I saw everything. Everything.
Okay.
You know, you see mothers, pregnant women being carried on the bike. The person riding the bike is on the seat. And then the pregnant woman is on the bar.
Wow.
And then when they arrive, the vulva is swollen.
Oosh.
And there is no way this woman can deliver
Through
the
normal
delivery. And so definitely it's a cesarean section case. A lot of horrors cases, you know. So by the time I was leaving at TB, I was a very brave doctor.
Yeah.
And I had seen everything. And so when I added the social science to it, I was ready for the next stage of my career.
Okay.
So when I was sent to Cape Coast Regional Hospital as the medical director, I was young. I was 42. And I met very senior colleagues, consultants, and I had to take over from a very seasoned specialist. You know, it was not easy trying to, but you still have to find a way to accept you because they are all part of the leadership skills. You know, once you are not humble and then arrogance comes in there, then no matter how good you are, people will never accept you because knowledge and excellence in your career is one thing, but you know, you have to be very skillful and knowledgeable, and your initiatives must be right. Then it adds on to your knowledge. Then you become a full professional. Otherwise, you are only happy because you are an A student. And who cares?
Yeah.
Everybody who has gone beyond the bar as an average student has passed.
Yep.
But the leadership role is not about the excellence in your head. How do you work with others? How do you sustain relationships and make sure that people want to work with you? Because you also accept contributions. And then you work with. And so I'm sure that I have traveled through a career journey that a lot of these experiences have come my way. Cape Coast was a very good experience as a young man who entered a new hospital, a regional hospital, and you have to work with consultants and doctors and others.
Okay.
It was successful. It became the best regional hospital. We started a medical school in 2005. And today, if I hear Cape Coast teaching medical school, well, I'm happy because I was part of the initial discussion. And then it has been fruitful. And so it's how to nurture a culture and tradition that becomes the blueprint. And I'm sure that if you test the system, you can attest to the fact that we've managed to nurture a culture quite different from most public sector, what people know.
In the public hospitals or something like that. So you've done really well. God bless you for saving lives. But one headache we've had to deal with over the period has been medical negligence. How does that make you feel?
It boils down to the ethics of the business. You know, it has all to do with the gaps, the processes, and so the work that we do is always trying to evaluate the outcome, that it is not enough to indict people, but sometimes you also have to look at your obligations and responsibilities as a manager. That do you understand the processes very well, that there are shortfalls, and so what happened has nothing to do with the person, but let's try to, what is the patient experience in terms of entering this facility and then having access to care, and how easy is this access being mapped out for this patient, and what are our responsibilities. These are the real issues, that the processes doesn't, the structure doesn't matter. What is the essence of this beautiful building? And then you bring in all the best qualified doctors in it. You have all the medicines, you have everything, but you have refused to identify the work process that will always have effect on the outcome. All the structures may be right, but the process is wrong, so the outcome is also wrong. And so definitely, these are the issues. So we must go back and look at the processes. Not saying, oh, this doctor doesn't know anything. That is the end of the process, because we have refused a lot of the processes that would have allowed the professional to be efficient. We are looking too many times in getting clinical excellence in terms of training doctors to excel in the clinical areas.
But we can't
But
also
we must
rule out
also
that fact.
begin to look at training doctors to manage.
Okay.
Because it is not always true that the best doctor in terms of his clinical area may necessarily become the best hospital manager.
Okay.
They are two different things, right?
Right.
You are the best surgeon, you operate excellently, all your operations successfully, but you may not, because you have certain factors, your human relationship, the principles of management, teamwork, networking, all those things are not there. So how are we managing our hospitals? How are we building capacities for those who potentially are going to rise to become hospital managers? I know that in some institutions, like the ECG and others, once you rise to a certain point, you are sponsored to do your MBA. Then it's paid for by the organization, because potentially you are likely to manage.
Yeah.
And then that social science exposure is introduced to you.
Okay.
So most of the problems you are getting in hospitals, I think that we have very good doctors, excellent in what they do, but now we must begin to build capacity in terms of leadership, clinical leadership, and make sure that those who are managing hospitals have been given certain capacity to do so. We got it earlier. I did my master's in hospital management in the year 2001, about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So if I've been practicing with that qualification for 20 years, I might have built some experience.
Yeah.
Right? Making mistakes, identifying them, filling them up. And I'm sure that we should begin to think through.
But let me ask you this. Which part of the country are you from?
I am from Obukwa.
Okay. No wonder you went to
that
ETB.
is why I went to St. Peter's and maybe worked in Kwao.
So finally, when you worked in ETB, you found yourself there as a doctor.
Yeah.
How did you feel?
It
must have been
I fulfilled my
fulfilling.
dream.
Okay.
Yeah, you must always have a dream and you have to work towards it. And sometimes working towards that dream takes years. But the efforts, and of course, if I had defeated the promise I made to myself by not going to a TBA and went somewhere else, probably I wouldn't have ended where I am today.
Okay.
So
So ATBA was
initially,
actually the defining
yeah,
moment.
the 74, I said to myself, if I should become a doctor, I would like to come to a TV.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, whether serious or not, immediately it happened.
Okay.
You find yourself there. And so at least you fulfilled one dream. And then from there, you have to dream again about your next step. So we continue dreaming. And I think my professional life dreaming is coming to an end. And so I have to begin to have new dreams.
Okay. Do you have new dreams?
Whatever happens.
Which among your children are following your steps?
My first daughter is a doctor.
Okay.
She is a doctor with Masters in Public Health and Masters in Business Administration.
Oh, wow.
She is presently the Director of Health in Connecticut Hospital Groups Association. So she's out there working.
Wow.
My second girl is a pharmacist.
Okay.
And then my last one is in law school.
Who's also a girl?
A girl, she is finishing Makola this June.
Okay.
My wife is a doctor, a PhD holder, director of research, Ghana Health Service.
Okay. So what your mom didn't have, you gave to her. 3 girls.
Wow.
She must be proud
so.
of you.
If you say so. Yeah, so I'll be a very happy pensioner. I don't have liabilities. I just have to enjoy the rest of my life.
You see? And your wife, you met her in Ukraine?
Yeah.
How did you cross paths?
Well, I mean, Ukraine was, we have very few. I think we had the city where we studied, there were, I think, about 60 men.
Okay.
And very few women come through. And that year, I think she was the only female that came that year.
Okay.
And then for some reason, she became my partner.
Just like that?
Well, we were in a group of 14. You know, they divide you into groups. You study. So in my group, we were 2 Ghanaians,
okay.
And then Russians were 12. But you know, I was a class prefect for all the years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, anytime we enter the classroom, and then they are asked to nominate a class prefect.
Then they will nominate you.
Yeah, the Russians will mention my name.
Wow.
So and I became the NUC's president.
Okay.
Then for the Ghanaian society.
So
I was popular.
Girls will fight over you.
Yeah, so my leadership maybe started long ago. Okay. Because I remember that some people wanted to contest the class prefect, and then the Russians will fight them because I could answer their problems well.
Okay.
You know, when they fall into trouble, and the prefect will have to go and talk on their behalf. But I developed myself that I could speak the Russian language.
Okay.
And then I could, in between, I learned some of their proverbs. Is it the same thing we call Ebe?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so
you should tell me.
we get there, and the disciplinary committee has met, and I start throwing the proverbs. Then the people are left to go free because they have not seen any black man who is saying those kind of things, you know.
I must say we are also so proud of you, not only your family, but I mean, all of us are proud of you for what you're doing. At 62 years, you look very healthy, and you attested to the fact that you've never fallen sick and stayed out of work because you're sick. What do you do to
I don't
stay
even
fit?
know.
I know you love tennis. I know you love soccer. Do you still play?
No, I don't. But tennis too, I had this accident in Canada some years ago. So this hand is not functioning well.
Probably so.
Yeah, so I stopped playing tennis. But, I'm a very relaxed person. I don't trouble myself with issues. And if you ask my colleagues I work with, I always take it easy. When they are very apprehensive about a problem, I always have to cool the environment because there's always a solution to every problem. And when you are troubled or you have issues with people, then it eats so much into you. So you don't want to have those things. And it leaves me and gives me space to think about better things.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't allow little things to bother me. I don't. Yeah.
So what do you do to relax?
I go home. I read because I must abreast myself with my doctors.
Very important.
My doctors are consultants. Remember, they are excellent professionals. And so when they come to you to talk to you about some issues in their line of work, and then you don't seem to understand or appreciate where they are coming from,
yeah,
then you are losing it again in terms of the expertise leadership. So I try very much when memos come to me that we need A, B, C, D. If I don't understand it, I flag it.
Okay.
And I go home, educate myself very well. Then the following day, I'm ready for you.
Okay.
So let's talk about it. And then I think I can even talk better about that thing than you.
Okay.
So, you don't have to disrespect the people you are working with.
Yeah.
And then you can only do so when you can have meaningful communication.
I know you listen to music sometimes.
Yeah.
What genre of music do you listen to?
Well, I do listen to all music. But I'm a fan of
Thank you so much for all the good work you're doing for God and country. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
God bless you. Viewers, thanks so much for watching. My beautiful dress was made by Needle Thread Designs. Catch them at Tesano. Same time next week, another exciting edition awaits you on PM Personality Profile. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of our program.